Hey, so today I'm going to review this book. This is Shadow Study by Marie V. Snyder. It's the first book in the Soulfinder trilogy or series, and it's a continuation of the Study series. And I got a copy of this, an ebook ARC copy from the publishers Via Kelly, so thank you so much for the copy. This is a continuation of the Study series, so I'm not going to talk about what this is about really, except to say that it's 6 or 8 years after what happens at the end of the Study series. One of those years. I can't remember if it's 6 or 8. And yeah, so you get to be back in the same world and with the same characters and see what happens 6 to 8 years later. And the Study series, which I'm talking about, are these 3 books right here. Poison Study, Magic Study, and Fire Study. I love these books so much. They're an amazing trilogy. I really enjoyed reading them, especially Poison Study, the first book. This is about a girl named Yelena who is going to be executed for murder, and on the day of her execution she gets an offer from the second in command that she can either be executed and, you know, die, or she can become the new food taster for the commander, the first in command. And obviously she accepts the position. Why wouldn't she? I mean, life is good. And so yeah, she becomes a food taster. She has to study poison. She lives in a castle with the commander, obviously, and you know, because she has a job there. But even though she has a position and a place and things that she needs to do, there are a lot of people that don't like her. And so yes, it's awesome. It kind of reminds me of Throne of Glass now that I'm sort of saying all these things out loud, but I like this better. I gave Poison Study 5 out of 5, I gave Magic Study 4 out of 5, and I gave Fire Study 3.5 out of 5. So the series sort of declined for me. So when I read, or when I was going to read Shadow Study, the book I'm going to talk about today, I was really nervous. I was excited to get back into the world and with the characters, but I was also really nervous because I was worried it was going to continue to decline, but it didn't. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad. One of the ways that it improved is that in the previous books, in Magic Study and Fire Study, the author would do this thing where she recounted the things that happened in previous books to kind of remind you. And she does it like throughout the book when it's necessary, but it felt a little bit like obvious when she did it sometimes, and I think she really improved in Shadow Study. It wasn't as obvious and it wasn't as much, and I also kind of needed it more because I haven't read the Poison Study series in a long time, so I guess that kind of helped. Another thing that I really like that improved in Shadow Study is that in previous books Yelena would do this thing where she would go into situations unprepared, which wasn't great, and there'd be this sort of cycle where she would be captured or caught, like she'd go into a situation unprepared, be captured or caught, and then escape or be rescued, and it would happen over and over and over again, and it kind of lessened the intensity of what was happening because it was like it happened over and over. In Shadow Study I feel like Yelena has grown so much and she doesn't run into situations, you know, unprepared. She thinks before she acts most of the time, and also there's not that cycle, the repetition of her being caught and then escaping and stuff like that. The other things I liked about this book are the world. It's just so much fun, and so it just feels so good to like get back into this world, to get back into the magic and the lore, and to be surrounded by my faves, my favorite characters. I like all the characters basically. They're just so interesting and so much fun to be around and to, you know, follow their stories. The world is so interesting and so detailed, and because I've read 3 other books in this world, set in this world, and I've gradually gotten to know more about it, I just feel like as we go along, like as I was reading Shadow Study, I was like, oh, I know what happened there, and I remember that thing that happened there, and I remember this thing, and there's a mystery, or there's lots of mysteries actually, and there are so many different things that could be happening and so many different reasons behind things, and the reason that I know, like the reason that there are so many different options is because I'm constantly remembering things, and like remembering things about the magic and the lore and the world, and it feels good to be in a world and to kind of know it and feel good to be there. Like it was just good to be back in this world and to be back with these characters. So yeah, I really like the world and the characters and the mystery. Now onto the things I didn't like. The first is that the end of the book, the showdown, sort of last battle that happened so quickly. Like it was over really, really quickly. Like I blinked and it was done. I feel like when it like there was sort of like a build-up when it was starting to happen, the last showdown, and then the actual thing was maybe like half a page or something, if I remember correctly. Like, it was really quick. So yeah, that wasn't great. Another thing I didn't like is that there's sort of a nonchalance to the violence, or not the violence, the danger in the book. Because the characters have been surrounded by danger and have had so many, you know, dangerous things happen to them in their lives, they kind of are relaxed about it a little bit, and it kind of lessened the intensity for me a little bit. But as things go along and as things progress, it gets more intense, and you feel more like, it feels like there's more involved in what's happening, and you feel more involved in what's happening, and it feels like the characters are like actually in danger, when at the start it kind of felt like they're just like, cool, danger, no big deal. The last thing I didn't like is there are flashbacks in the book, and the flashbacks were okay. They kind of slowed down the story a little bit, but they were still really interesting to read. The thing I didn't like about them was that some of the things that were said in the flashbacks were a little bit unbelievable, and I felt like they were said in a sort of, like they were just said. It was like, this person did that, move on. And I was like, wait, how did they do that? Like, that doesn't sound, how, you know, like I was like, that's not something that someone can just do. You need to give explanation for that. And also, like, I'm still, like, even if you did give explanation, I would be like a little bit, I don't know, skeptical about whether or not they'd be able to do that, because how did they do that? But yeah, so there was a little bit of that. It wasn't all the flashbacks, just some of them were a little bit unbelievable. But yeah, that's my review of Shadow Study. I really enjoyed it. It was such a good experience reading it. And if you haven't read Poison Study, then please go read it. It is amazing. Just read it. Get into this world, into the series. And if you have read Poison Study in the series, then definitely check out Shadow Study to see what happens next. And yeah, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts or if you've read the book, then tell me in the comment section below. And I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.